Hey folks, this is Dolly and welcome to some more game dev. Coming back again, looking at enemy behaviors today is the goal. Last 2 weekends we've been working on skill stuff, so we were working on skill items, gating certain skill nodes to require certain items, and to try and get items dropping from enemies. Most of that's working at this point, and we also got up multiple skill items, because originally when we did it in the first stream it was just a single item, but we managed to get a couple of different skill items, one for each stat type that we currently have at least. So we have a couple of crystals down here for strength, defense, and HP, so we can buy this strength node, and that'll use some of our SP, our skill points we earn from attacking, and some of the items that we've picked up. We can buy this health one, and we can buy this defense one, but even though we have 1 SP left, we can't buy this strength node or this strength node. So that's the basic setup. I think last week we also spent a fair amount of time trying to figure out what was going on with this screen in terms of fixing some of my graph node, like menu selection logic, and we fixed it and realized there were still some design flaws with the current setup. I'm going to leave some of that for the time being, and we're going to instead come look at some other problems that are going to be related to the skill stuff. So how do I break this down? The thing is, in here we currently have a couple of different stat types that we can be upgrading between strength, defense, health. Eventually we'll have speed, and then I have the ability to evolve a skill is the idea. So we're going to eventually get to the point where once we've unlocked every other node, we can select this unlock /v2. We can purchase that once every other node is unlocked, and then we'll come up back up here and we'll see this sword symbol evolve, and then when you go back into it, instead of taking you to this grid, it'll take you to the V2 version of the grid, and so you'll kind of progress through skill trees, getting deeper and deeper as you unlock better versions of each skill. That's all well and good, but I would like to increase the diversity of nodes that we have. So in here we just have mostly stats. We do have the capability to add nodes that are essentially increasing the power of this ability. I don't think I have any prototyped in these current grids, but the weapon has a power associated with it, the ability has a POW associated with it. For defend, that makes less sense. We may want to remove that POW entirely on that one, but for bash, it has like a POW of 30, whereas slash has a POW of 30, or a POW of 10. Alright, so that all being said, we can make nodes that increase this power to make this skill stronger, but beyond that, we don't have a lot of other unique improvements that we can give to a skill. One of the things I'd like to do is, right now when we use slash, it costs 4 turns, essentially. And bash uses 9, I believe. Actually, it might be 7. Point is I want to make a node that allows us to reduce the CT count of an ability, thus making it act sooner. So I want to get that type of node. But I also want to kind of create different enemy behaviors that'll hopefully allow us to have other types of interesting upgrades for the abilities. So right now when I attack this enemy, he chose an ability that has 9 CT, so it takes 9 turns. So I can slash twice and get him down to 1 CT left before he ends up taking his turn. I can defend that and end up blocking some of that damage. And then he ends up choosing a faster ability, which had 5 CT, but defend takes 2. So even though we defended, we still had 1 more CT, it ticked over, and he went from 5 to 4. And this is where we're at now on this state. So at this point, I could get a slash in. I couldn't get a bash in before he attacked. I could defend. Let's check. Is defend 2? Yeah. No, defend. No, yeah, that's right. Defend is 2. So we defended. So we could defend again, which would parry his attack because we timed it perfectly. And then he's stunned for 1 turn. So I can try and get a bash in. And I got somewhat lucky that he chose, after the stun, to do a slash. I didn't know what he was going to choose. But because he chose a slow ability, I was able to get the harder hitting bash off and kill the enemy. So I have to explain a lot of that. And I like the direction that this is going with this whole like kind of rock, paper, scissors kind of dueling mechanic, but I kind of don't like that all of this is happening statically. I'm standing here on this tile, the enemy's standing here on this tile, and neither of us are moving. And I want to discourage running away a little bit, because if the enemy ends up picking like a attack that has a fairly high CT and moving only costs 1 point of, you could run 3 tiles away and basically outrun the enemies. So I've been experimenting with making it so that during combat, moving costs 5, or I think this is actually at 4. So we can kind of run away, but it's all very slow and we're wasting a ton of time by doing this. And eventually we get caught. I'm not sure if I like that. Again, it only costs 1 normally when we're outside of combat, but I don't dislike the idea of it being costly to move. But I would like movement to potentially have more to do with combat. Like, if this guy's about to attack me and I move on 4, he's still going to move and attack me right after. But if I do a defend and now he's on 4 move, I think I dodge. Yeah, it's not well resolved because I think it's kind of the code fails, but we move as he's going to attack us and he finds no target, so he just doesn't do anything on the tile he was attempting to attack. And that only happens if you move on the turn he would perform the attack. Otherwise, he follows you and attacks. And so I like this idea of like, oh, I can essentially dodge if I time my movement. And I like the fact that I can parry if I time my defense. But I don't necessarily have a good way of moving back after we dodge to get in line with the enemy. And so this is where I think having some more diversity in our abilities will allow us to create more interesting, like, gameplay patterns where the player will be able to make more interesting decisions. All of that is to say that if we had the enemy moving, I think the gameplay would be more interesting. And that was a really roundabout way of saying that, but I think that's the point. So I'd like to explore making it so that the enemy AI actually tries to move away a little bit more, so that it's not just stuck in standing in one position. Now that's going to involve a little bit of remembering. As usual, it's been a while since we've touched this particular set of code, because we do not work on this project very quickly. It is a hobby, and honestly, lately, the last few months, these dev streams have been all I've been actually doing. Basically, 4-ish hours a week. So this is where all the abilities and some of the prototype abilities that we have are. Where do we actually store the enemies again? They're down here. Okay. And each of these enemies have their own prefab associated with them, with their own patterns. So if we look at slime, for example, not the mini one, but the green one, the larger one, it currently uses a attack pattern which is randomized, number 1, and then it chooses between one of these 3 things if they are valid. So I have added a little bit of logic to say that certain abilities have a min and a max range. So if the enemy is going to dash attack you, you must be within 1 or 3 tiles of them. But if they're going to smash, you must be within 1 or 2 tiles of them. So they're able to, they'll more likely to choose this dash attack if you're further away. And then if you're over 3 as a min distance and upwards to max 64. I don't even think our grid can allow an enemy to be 64 away, but I just capped it out there, that the enemy will chase. And that's basically just an ability where they move towards the player as much as they possibly can. I think these are a good starting point, but they don't necessarily allow me full control of the enemy So what do we want? What do we want to try and achieve? Enemy behaviors. Okay, so we have the slime. Right now, how does the slime currently work? It has 3 attacks, which are dash attack, which is move 1, attack, cost 4. And then it has a heavy, which I believe does not have a movement component associated with it. Oh, it does. It does move. What is override range doing? Interesting. That is determining how far it will search away from it. So in most situations, I think that these values are always going to be the same. And so far I've set that up that way. Okay, I think that that could be refactored so that we don't need an override range. We just use max distance as the range that they will search in. Okay, but so this parameter doesn't really matter for our purposes. And oh, it's because some of these don't have distance. So if it was a non-distance based ability, then it would need the range. Okay, fine. But we don't need to worry about that. That's not really a part of our thinking right now. CT is the amount it costs to use. So CT 5 for the dash attack, CT 9. Okay. So this is a cost of 5. And it looks like it does allow it to move 1, attack, and the cost is 9. And then it has a chase ability, and the chase ability is a move. At basically infinite range. Neat, but not what we're looking for. What is the cost of chase? Does it have a cost? Ct1, so it happens instantly. As soon as you get too far away, it will chase you. Okay, and so these things have essentially... Maybe we should break these up into individual buckets. So it has a dash attack, which we are saying is a move 1. Unlockable characters, I hope you're having a good day. Appreciate the hydrate redeem. So move 1, attack, low, cost, five. And then we currently say this has a min distance of 1, max distance of 3. Min distance 1, max distance 3. And this is saying that it will only choose this ability. So we'll call these requirements. That it will only choose this ability if the player is between 1 and 3 tiles away. And the reason it can be 3 is because the movement of this is enough that it will reach the player. I want to see this in action. I want to double check that my thinking of how this works and how it's actually functioning are the same before we go much further. So let's maximize this. We're going to take a little one. Okay. Strength crystal acquired. Now, this one, we hit it. Now, it is trying to do a heavy attack. So if we move away and then wait, it will move and attack us. And it will do the same thing here. Now, can we get far enough away? Okay, we're 2 away. If we wait here, will it get to us? It will. Okay. So it's able to move 2 distance. If we try to attack it, we're gonna have to try running for a little bit. No, it still reaches. Still reaches. How did we get away from it at all last time? Where did I add the movement CT system? I added that inside of... I did a bit of a hack for that off camera at some point. We're looking for the ability select screen, I think. Combat ability select screen. In here, in combat, override the CT to 4. If we leave that override at -1 so that we don't override it, we'll go back to moving 1 square and it only costing us 1 turn, and we can get away from the enemy more easily and see what's happening. Because I'm curious how far the enemy will move. I believe I set it up so that the override range is their distance of movement. So here, let's go 3 away. It was weird the way that it moved towards us. Okay, so we're 3 away. It will reach us. Okay, now here, we're 2 away. And it will reach us. We're 3 away. And it won't reach us. Okay, so that is correct then. The override distance, or the override range, this is how far they're able to go. If this override range is set, this ability will have the AI perform this amount of movement to chase after you. So if we change this to be is stationary, does that break everything? Again, it's been a while since I've touched this code, so we're just going to start by making sure that my understanding of how this works, or I shouldn't say code, but this data, whatever. Point is that I want to check to see Does stationary make it so that they don't move? It does. And because they couldn't find a target within melee range, they became stunned. So that's how is stationary works. So we could be one tile away, and they're stunned. It does look like stun is a little broken on is stationary. It like stuns normally. We'll see the stun symbol below them, and they're stunned. But then after that one stun turn, they go to a turn of not having a proper selection, and then they go to chase. Interesting. I wonder if that is because there's just not an ability that they can find that's valid. But then the second time they try and search, they find chase. So there's something, maybe a little bit of a bug. There's potentially a little bit of a bug with the enemy's AI there. Yeah, if we are 3 away, and then, okay, we'll still find that one, which will do 2 movement. Okay. Thinking. Let's try enabling a ranged attack. This AI has a bow attack built in. This bow attack is min distance 1 or 2, it looks like, with a preferred distance of 2, and is set to is stationary. Interesting. I'm going to turn off is stationary here. Preferred distance of 2. That means the AI will try and move to be 2 tiles away from the player, I believe. The other ones did not have a preferred distance. They did, but they had a preferred distance of 1. This one had a preferred distance of -1, which I'm going to assume is the same as 1. Let's just take a quick look at how this is actually functioning in code. What is this doing? It's getting set to the plan. And then if it's -1, then as part of its getting best move target, it'll say that this is... If it's not -1, it'll do some calculations to try and figure out if this tile could be... if there's a better tile. I think that's what's happening there. Get distance score. Yeah, this is doing a little bit math. Okay. Interesting that it's here as well. If preferred distance is not -1, it tries to pick the best move option. Okay. This all seems fine. So -1 is basically just like, don't worry about this. 1 says I'd like to be 1 tile away, and 2 is saying I'd like to be a distance of 2 away from the player. And then this ranged one will perform it if they're within 1 or 2 tiles. It does not have an override range. And it costs 3 CT. Okay. I want to see what this does, because I don't think I've turned on the ranged attack on these guys in a long time. I also don't think I actually fully set it up. Randomize. We're going to do bow instead of dash attack. Because I think they had similar distances. Oh no. I should have replaced the heavy hit. It's fine. It'll still perform the attack, which is what I want. Okay, so it is yellow. So if we stay still... Whoa. That was interesting. It looked like Unity had to import the texture for a second. I've not seen that before. Yeah, I guess we haven't seen that particle in a while, and Unity had decided we didn't need it anymore, maybe? Yeah, okay. So that is working. So if we get close to the enemy, they will move away to the preferred distance. And if we're already 2 away, it won't move because it thinks it's at the right spot anyways. And if we move in close, then it will move. How does this behave with our attack? So if we do a attack here... Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I had not tested... Oh, that's cool, actually. So if we try and do an attack, the enemy moves away, and we fail to find a target. We can still move afterwards, but we're just locked in this attack state forever. No hard errors here, it doesn't look like. The error we were seeing, I think, was for the AI trying to target, but we're not seeing a specific error for the player failing to find a target in front of us. So we need to update our abilities to have like a fail. I don't think that hit the mic, but it was close. Yeah, we need like a fail to our attack. So if the enemy moves away before we attack, we need some sort of like failure state to represent that. I'm surprised this doesn't hard break, to be honest with you. Okay. So base logic, we have a fair amount of flexibility here. We have the ability to control what the AI will do based off of the distance to the player. So if it's close to the player, it'll try and do big, long, charging, heavy attacks. If they're far away from the player, they'll try and chase after the player. If we want, we can have the enemy do ranged attacks, and if they do a ranged attack, we can have them try and move away from the player to be at max distance for that ranged attack. That's a good amount of behaviors already. So what are we trying to solve for? So if we do the heavy hit here, then a defend. Okay, well, we're dead. Let's try again with full health. So we're going to hit them to trigger combat. So in this situation, there's basically nothing we can do to stop the ranged attack. The indicator that they're about to take their turn is continuously flashing, so something broke there. Well, he definitely feels more annoying, that's for sure. I mean, even at a base level, just turning on that ranged attack, that feels more dynamic. It feels like we're chasing this slime around and it's like continuously dodging away, and it feels almost too quick to hit in a lot of spots as well. Like, our slash isn't fast enough to hit the slime, which is in itself more interesting than even this one down here, where like it basically just stands there and dies. Like, even if it's active, it'll get like one hit in, but like having the enemy actually occasionally just like be so fast that you can't catch it, I didn't think about that because it just feels bad. Man, it can get like 2 attacks in before we even fail. But then as soon as it does a heavy hit, that's our chance to like try and get some strikes. Because even if it chooses a ranged attack after the parry, it still has enough time. We still have enough time to get it. We're going to die here, but Wait, why are we not dying? It says it's doing 8 damage to us, but we're not receiving that damage? We added a separation for the actual damage implementation, where damage is now separate from the calculation of it. Yeah, and this is using AI hit that has that apply damage setup. But this one is not using that hit because it's so old, it's before that setup. So anytime it's been doing the range attack, it looks like it's hitting us, but not actually applying any damage, which is hilarious. Okay. So we need to update this to be more in line with our new kind of setup. That's fine. We can do that. The next question is, why does parry not work? Is that the same problem? Yeah, it's missing the parry setup. This whole thing looks to be the hit effect. So if we just come into here, there should be no overrides. Yeah, there's none. We can turn off the old logic. Is there a bass difference? Wait for idle, audio effect are the only thing here. And then outro doesn't do anything currently. This one has a power default built into it. Why does this one not have a power default? Oh, this one does. 25. Oh, AI attack doesn't because it's using whatever the default power is, which I think is 10. Okay, so I had originally set this up to be a slightly weaker attack for the ranged attacks. Okay. So this should be set up now so that we actually take damage from this attack. We're just gonna wait. Yeah, we actually were hurt by it. But it's no longer using the correct animation. Yeah, now it's using melee. The old one was using cast 1. So we can make this a override, a local override for this specific version. Did it have to do something for the particle as well? It was using particle slime ranged instead. And that was happening right after the splash. Okay, that all still fine. Seems fine. So we'll do that. See if that's looking more correct. Because the behavior stuff is kind of separate from the actual ability. So by swapping out the hit effect, it was still, you know, behaving like a bow, but the actual, like, what happened in terms of animations were different. We did see an error. It failed to find giving key 0 present on hit notification step. Interesting. We didn't get that error again. Okay, so that I think is just a separate error that occasionally we just get a notification problem. So if we change the smash attack to be a min distance 1, and we let the bow be a min distance 1 or 2 with a preferred distance of 2, it means that in range, if they are outside of melee range, they could try and use the bow again. Or the ranged attack, more accurately. But they could try and use this ranged attack within distance 1 or 2, but it will only try and do the big heavy hit within 1. And if you move, it'll be stunned because it's got this is stationary set. And then if you move more than 3 away, it'll try and use this chase ability. I think this behavior sets it up so the AI is potentially able to continuously run away. So at this stage, we could try and attack, but it would move before our attack would finish. We can defend, which will parry the attack, which doesn't make any sense on a ranged attack, but it still stuns them. And again, here we can't do anything because they're going to move away. So the best we can hope for is defending twice. Then we could try moving away so that they'll chase close to us. Defend to parry. And we just have to hope for it to actually do a red attack in order for us to actually get any hits in. Because otherwise we just can't... we can't hit it fast enough. And so we have to keep moving towards it in order for it to trigger a potential red. But we can never get close enough before it chooses to do another yellow unless we parry the ranged attack. That's so weird. Okay. I'll say that this is at least a interesting behavior. I don't think it's fun, but is becoming more of a puzzle to solve opposed to just like us both standing in one spot. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for some sort of layering so that we can increase the complexity of combat What if instead of randomize, what if instead it was always guaranteed to try and do the smash attack as a priority? Now this is an attack pattern, so this is going to pick them in order. So this version is not priority based. This behavior setup would say, try and do an AI smash. I think it still fails. Is this set up to fail? Yes, because it'll try and pick it. And I think it can fail on my criteria, in which case it won't populate, and then it'll go to the next one. But on the following turn, if it just did an AI smash, it will move on to randomize. And if it just did randomize, it'll try and do AI smash. It's not quite what I want. What I'd like to have it is every turn it tries to do AI smash as a priority. I don't even know if that's what I want, but I just want to see if I can build it. So do we have a... we have an ordered ability picker. What does that do? That also takes a list. Okay, I think this one is something I built at some point for this type of behavior. So this one is always going to, when we go to pick a plan, clear the list, add all of the pickers to this internal one, and then go through it one by one until it finds a valid one in order, aka an ordered list. So instead of it being a pattern, this is going to have priorities. So if we give it ability smash and then randomize, I think if we do it this way, we run into a problem with references, because it's going to have the AI system somewhere reference that aggressive pattern. Something must be referencing that. Aggressive pattern. Is it doing it internally through like some sort of get component in child? Yeah, it's doing it internally. It's finding the attack pattern. Okay, so we can't remove this one, but what we can do is we can make a copy of randomize, and this can be the one that we play with the ordering with. So we'll go into here, we'll do, this one is a reference to randomize and to AI smash, and then the attack pattern will be ordered list, and it will use ordered list and only ordered list for its list of pickers. So it'll come in, pick this one, and then this one will try and do AI smash. If it can't, it'll use randomize, and randomize doesn't have it anymore, so it'll choose between one of these two. Although these aren't even really randomized either, because it's going to try and do the bow, and if it can't, it'll do chase, and it'll never do chase if it can do bow. So it really, it could just be an ordered list of the three things. Randomize would only be useful if we have like two different abilities that have the same requirements associated with them. So in this scenario, I think I've set this up in a way that this AI will never do anything other than red, but if we step away, they'll always do range now. That's not what we're looking for. That's not what we're looking for at all. Okay. Is it the... I guess we do want randomized in order to create this behavior, because if we prioritize either one, it becomes really predictable. So if we do priority on AI bow, it'll basically never choose smash, because smash will only happen if they're within the same distance as AI bow. So we have this slime. We have a bunch of attacks. Maybe the better way to think about this is, what is the behavior I'm trying to achieve? Like, if I want the slime to feel slippery and hard to hit, then I probably want to do ranged attack at like a high priority, where it'll try and move away and hit the player. And then we have the heavy hit, which is currently slow. And this only happens if the player is within range 1. The way that we currently have it set up. And this can happen range 1 or 2. And then we have chase at range 3. So if you get more than 3 tiles away, it'll chase after you. If we have these equally weighted and they both happen at the same like chance level, if these can both happen at the same probability, which is what we had originally when I first started setting this up, then sometimes the enemy will choose to do the heavy attack, which takes a long time, and sometimes the enemy will choose to do the ranged attack, which will move it away and is very quick. The problem is we don't really want the AI doing ranged attack over and over again. That's the problem, I think. Is I like the idea of it having this chance of just continuously baiting the player, like, come towards me, run away, come towards me, run away. But if it does that continuously, the player never really gets an opportunity to fight it. Again, we can kind of manipulate that AI a little bit, but mostly still down to random chance. So if we want to manipulate the AI currently, we can never have it do range attack back to back, because if it moves away and does a range attack, it'll just continue to do range attack and we'll never get an opportunity to hit it. If we move towards it and then try and attack it, it'll move away and we won't get a chance to hit. If we move towards it again, it has a chance Oh, that's confusing. I see what's happening. So if we attack, fail, it goes to 2. If we walk towards it, no, that still doesn't make sense. How did we... Like, we could use defend, but before we get there, I want to see... So this is going to try and do a range attack. It moves on 3. It has 2 left. I move up at 1. I get hit twice. Oh, if it's on 1 tick, we can move, dodging the attack. But then it still chooses yellow. Does it ever choose red? No, I think because it's choosing on the turn when we're here, which is a bug in and of itself, I think. It probably should be able to choose red in this scenario. Yeah, and if we move up here and then defend, it'll still choose yellow. Yeah, we can get some really weird behaviors, but I think if we parry it, then we have an opportunity to move up, and I think that it can end up choosing red eventually. No, it's never choosing red. Oh, that's because we still have it set up with the priority system. Okay, so if we go back to randomize, okay, that makes sense. But if we go back to randomize, we should be able to get it to choose red now, but it's not guaranteed. And as a player, we don't have like a lot of control over this behavior. So it chooses red. Parry on 2, so we don't take any damage. It chooses yellow. I kind of just want to see if we move as it's attacking. Now it'll choose red occasionally. Okay, so that was the issue. It wasn't bugged. I just didn't have it set up right. So... if we have it set up this way, the player's behavior or the player's strategy in this situation would be to try and get the enemy to do a heavy hit so that we can get 2 attacks in, and then hope it chooses red again. And if it ever chooses yellow, which of course now it's not doing, should choose yellow occasionally. If it chooses yellow, now we're in a position where the best we hope for is to defend, move up, defend, defend, parry, walk up, and hope for red. Huh. I don't know why this is frying my brain so badly, but I feel like we're close to something here. Like, I like the behavior of the enemy moving away from us and us having to chase it down. Like, there's something interesting to that I do like. But the fact that it can move before we get a chance to attack and we miss, and then we have to play a game of like getting it to eventually go red, doesn't feel right. It feels like we should be able to do something that like tricks it into doing the heavy hit, like provoking the enemy in some way, and then it reacts to that attack. What's the CT cost of my defend currently? It's like 2? If we go back to having a bit of CT for movement, and we change it to 3, I didn't mean to trigger that enemy. Yeah, it feels like we can just never catch up to it. Because now we can play a little bit of a game of like trying to get away from it before it hits us. And in this situation, it could eventually chase us down. Yeah, we can never outrun it in this situation either. What if we make the CT 2? Then defending and moving have the same cost associated with them. In this situation, I almost feel like I want to attack like a square where it doesn't exist yet, so that it like runs into my sword. I don't know, chat. Like, I feel like I'm close on something here, but at the same time, like, I just feel very lost. Like, it depends on what we're trying to do. Like, do we want the behavior to be like a puzzle? Do we want it so that, like, when the enemy's choosing its actions, it's like a huge thing that I have to figure out? Or do we want it to just be like, you hit stuff and the enemy dies? And then you get your stats stronger and the enemy dies faster. And like, it feels like the player should have some agency over this situation. And I feel like I don't in this current setup. Like, at least with this having a CT of 3, I'm not seeing a interesting setup. Like, we could try like I like the idea that it's faster than your basic attack. It makes the enemy feel very like hard to hit and difficult to deal with. And then the moment it actually does do the heavy attack, it feels like, okay, this is my opportunity to strike. But then here, I could like move to try and dodge it. And then if we move again, like maybe that's the play. We do hit, defend. If it chooses yellow, then we can try and move, and because we moved, it dodges the attack. Hit, defend. Then we can move to dodge. It's likely to move away from us. But see, here's the thing. In the real game, I should have been more clear about this, but I've been skipping turns. I consider that a debug. I don't think I want the player to be able to skip a turn, because I feel like that completely negates the puzzle of this. So in this situation, it's about to chase after me in 1 turn. I can try moving away, but that's not really going to help me, because I'm going to need to move back in order to strike it with my current attacks. If I had a ranged attack, which we've not really discussed, that would be a potential way of hitting it. But if I don't move here, if I just defend to skip a turn, basically, it ends up on 2 because I had to take 2 turns to defend. And so it went 3 and then down to 2. So if I dodge again, same thing can happen, I think. And so then we just end up repeating this pattern over and over again. Hoping that eventually it chooses to choose red. I'm not even seeing it do that. It should be, in theory, possible. I think that time it chose red simply because it moved on the same turn, or it moved the same way I was moving. unlockable characters in Twitch chat says, I think the puzzle is the right way, but you got to build it up as you unlock more attack options. That's fair. It might be that just with defend, move, attack, or slash and bash, it's just not enough so that the player actually has a toolkit of something to do in each situation. I would think that different levels of intelligence / battle complexity for different monsters. Slimes have no brain or nerve endings, probably just bum rush you. Relying on defending / parrying until they randomly use the skill you want could be a frustrating mechanic with the time limit. 100%. And so that's why I don't think this is what we want. So here's like an example. I eventually want to add like magic types to the game. So like maybe there's something where like, oh, if you use fire on the slime, they're more likely to use the red attack because it enrages them, right? And when they're doing their big heavy attack, that's when you get a chance to hit. So like, I think that's maybe the direction we want to go. And I agree, slimes probably won't have this level of complexity. I think slimes will be very basic, but I do think the boar might have a similar behavior, or this void eye. I'm just using the slime as like an example to explore the different behavior setups. And that's what we're doing today. I know I don't know, this is probably not the most interesting thing, but like I'm trying to basically understand this, and I'm understanding it not through paper design, but through playing with it and prototyping to try and see how does it feel. And like at a base level, I do like this behavior of it feeling difficult to hit. And if we moved its range attack up to like CT5, I think that mostly eliminates a good chunk of the threat. We can try that, because that's an assumption I've had for a little bit here, but maybe I should try that. So if we make this CT5 instead of CT3, in theory, with a CT of 2 for our movement, we might be able to fight it. So it goes yellow. At this point we can hit. Now we defend. It moves, it strikes. It's attacking in 4. We can move in 2, and then we can parry, which again doesn't make much sense for the range attack. We can move up, and now here we can do a slash. It hits back. It's on 5. We can move up. It costs 2. It goes to 3. We can defend twice. It goes to 4. Yeah, in this situation we can trade blows with it at CT5, but we can't do much better than that. And again, we can't really get it to do red, because by the time it moves to its new square, it's already decided the only option it can do is yellow. And if we try and move up to it, that doesn't really do anything, because even if we parry, it moves before it chooses its next option. Yeah, and because our move costs 2 CT, we can't get close enough to it in the time before it chooses its next action, so it always chooses yellow. So the only way to get it to choose red would be to run away, get it to do chase behavior, and then try and take it out when it's choosing reds. Okay, well what if we do... At CT5 and movement of CT2, we can always outrun it, basically, unless we get ourselves trapped in the corner. So then I think the behavior becomes to always run away until eventually it chooses red. Yeah. Lockable characters in Twitch chat says if every battle's a long battle, encourage you to run past enemies if there's too many on your way back to where you died. Yeah, for sure. That's definitely a concern, especially as we make CT levels lower but have longer CT abilities. So if this enemy chooses to do his red attack, and that has a CT of 8, even if we have a CT of 2 for every movement, it still means we're going to be able to get pretty far away, even with the chase, if it chooses to do the red again. Like, we can get almost all the way to the other side of the map, and if it keeps choosing red after the chase, we'll never take any damage, and you can just outrun it. That's the problem with having the move have any kind of low CT number. It just becomes very possible to evade enemies. Which I don't want to completely stop. Like, I think if a player wants to run away from the enemies, I think that's fine. Maybe there needs to be like a zone of battle, and once you get far enough away, battle ends, and then it goes back to normal movement, and the AI goes back to walking along its path instead of following you. Like, maybe they have some sort of leash distance. That way, if a player wants to run away, they can. And maybe we just have it be annoying to run away, like in this situation where it just takes a long time. And then once it's finally leashed, it's like, okay, I'm free and I can move. But at some point, maybe it's just faster to just, like, fight the thing and kill it. Plus you get level ups and experience and items and whatnot. The other half of the puzzle that we're not really playing with is the player's toolkit. And unlockable characters, you touched on this as well, which is that, like, the player right now doesn't have a lot to work with ability-wise. But we could go back to dash attack and see how that's feeling. What's the player's current toolkit? Contextual move, and that's it. When we're actively playing, I think it's using light, heavy, and move. No, it's using these ones, slash, bash, and shoot. Are those based off of design data? Hydrate, I see it. Thank you for the hydrate redeem. Okay, so I think I could just modify slash, but I just want to double check to make sure I understand where this is coming from. Prefab ID. I'm gonna guess this has that. It does. Okay, so yeah, this is where it's coming from, and it's based off of the slash ability. Now, if we look at dash attack had a conditional value that would check to see if the front tile in front of them was valid. And then it would try and move, and then do a hit effect. Find unit by tile offset. Is that the same thing? Yes. Okay, so if we grab this one, bring this into here, put this before the damage effect. is valid destination tile. That looks like it's also needed. Oh, I think I see. I think I might be able to just use this wholesale as the effect. And if we turn off the normal effects... Oh no, this has to be here. Will this work? Technically, this is a damage effect, which in turn uses the hit effect. This is a damage attack effect, which in turn uses hit effects. So I think that this should work. So if we bring in the dash attack effect, this should make it so that the player tries to move forward one tile and then attack. Yeah, that doesn't work at all. Yeah, we can't perform that. There's something I'm missing on this. Yeah, I need it to be set up similar to this one. Find unit by tile. So if we go into slash, let's copy this part over. Let's delete this. And then it also looked like it needs some level of initial costing. I turned this off because I didn't think I needed it, but we probably do. The contextual move cared about defaulting all of these parameters. We're going to just copy them all over and then delete any duplicates. So this is a dupe, this is a dupe, this is a dupe, and this is a dupe. But valid tile power default we don't care about. Set ability type we don't care about. Okay. So valid tile I think is the other piece of the equation that's missing. So if we give this a shot, we should be able to turn back on a dash attack type ability. Still no. Still not finding it as a valid target. Interesting. Interesting. Interesting, interesting. Yeah, this should operate the same way, and it just doesn't. Does it need the shove effect in order for it to work? Whoa. It has been a while since we've seen that effect. I forgot that was using a punch animation before we had the sword. Okay, so it does need the dash, or the shove, and that makes some amount of sense, I suppose, because essentially it's checking to see whether or not there is a unit on the tile directly in front, and if it is, do this one, which is all of the shove attack. Meanwhile, if there's room in front of the player, then it's going to do the move and attack. So it does need two versions, one for hitting and one for dash attacking. So if that's the case, we should be able to grab this damage effect, which was the original damage value, turn off the shove, and try and turn this one on. This one says if it found a unit, and it needs to be setting a property for hit and enemy only ability target. That's fine. So it's gonna need the conditional property, which is gonna be this one. So paste this in here, add this as a conditional property. So only if it finds a unit will it do the damage effect, otherwise it'll do the dash effect. So then if the AI moves, it moves away. Does that fix most of our issues? Kind of. Couple of small things. We want to modify this to use some slightly different systems. Yeah. We need to make this a more permanent change. We're not using show name ability anymore. Turn off the power stuff right now. Instead of doing this animation parameters, we're gonna just add animation speed. That doesn't even really work in this setup. Yeah, I guess we do need this, but instead of using melee, we'll have it use slash now. I'm surprised some of this worked, actually. Because it's going to do the animation pause. If it's right in front of us, it'll do this animation. Otherwise, it's going to trigger a move. Yeah, there's like several layers of decisions being made here. I don't think I fully comprehend how this is set up anymore. So this is saying if there's a conditional tile is equal to 1. So if it found a valid tile to move to, it comes into here and performs the hit effect. Otherwise, this one is saying if it was not a valid tile but we found a unit, there's some weird behavior going on here. I think this part might be redundant, but I don't understand it enough to really say for sure. So we can hit the enemy. The enemy is going to try and move away. I don't know what happens here actually. I think it fails. No, it still follows through and attacks even though the enemy moved away. Here it fails, but still performs the move. Oh, I can't control the direction of this ability. Because the move is valid. So if I hit A to attack, it doesn't let me change facings. It just performs a move as if I hit move in that direction. Interesting, but not what we want, I don't think. We can say this is not a valid move. Is there any other move effects hidden inside of here? No, just that one. Okay, so if I think we just untick that box, it means that it won't be valid to move. And it needs to find a target in order for this to be a valid action, which will give us the ability to change facing. Oh, if we could clarify that, that actually works really well in a lot of ways. Because what happened there... I don't know if I can replicate that, but there was a setup there where the AI was going to perform its attack on 4. And we actually like attacked forward, hitting it on the turn it was about to attack us, which meant that we also dodged the attack, which is kind of neat. Again, it's not communicated well. We'd have to figure out a way to like show that more clearly to describe what's happening, but it's kind of cool that we could get into that type of behavior. What's slightly annoying about the setup though is it only works if the enemy's directly in front of us. Like here we still hit them because it chose to move away. Same thing here. So we can kind of somewhat bet on their movement. Didn't mean to trigger. Okay, I enjoy that. I should have been able to see that coming, but yeah, because of the way that I moved, man, the boar still hits for 159. because of the way the slime moved, I hit the boar instead. But yeah, if the slime keeps moving directly away, we can kind of keep using this dash attack ability. And so we can kind of bet a little bit of like, oh, I hope it moves away because then I'll still get a hit in. Oh. It is not properly cleaning up. Interesting. Oh, I see what's happening. It's performing a move on the turn that it's dying. And that's causing it to break the cleanup of which tile it's on. That's something to do with the pre-planning logic. Okay, that's different bug, different day. I don't know if this inherently solves our problem. Like, it's kind of neat to have the ability to have movement baked into the actual attack itself, but like, I feel like what I'm looking for here is going to be more complicated than that. Like, I almost wish that I could, like, you know, target this enemy and choose a square to move to, so that like we could like hit the enemy, jump over them, and like land behind them. But like, I don't even know if, like, that's a huge amount of extra animations for Drixie to make, and like a lot of custom setup for every type of scenario. Like, do we even want to go down that road? It might make for a more interesting combat and more puzzly and more dynamic if your like abilities are giving you free movement, because that's kind of what we're playing with here, in case I didn't say that aloud. But like, if we play with this idea that the enemy moves around more often, but we also build more movement into the player's toolkit, then like, yeah, battles will be more dynamic. But like, it definitely doesn't feel like I have full control, especially because when I choose to perform an action, that action happens not when I chose it, but after some amount of time. Man, there's a reason I haven't gotten to this. Alright. We're almost at the full stream, and I have not accomplished anything, but I do think I have leveled up my brain a little bit in some of this stuff. Let's try and do something actionable so I can feel like I did something, though, like something tangible. Let's try getting the CT amount on the actual UI so that we can see how much CT cost each of the abilities are going to be without me having to go look in the actual prefabs. So let's go into the UI, and we're gonna just go to this object here. This is a part of input center, and then input center has the icons, and then it has the actual command name. So we need to add the CT cost in here. What font size is this? 8. So at our pixel resolution, this is as small as we can go. So we can't get like a smaller piece of text that says like, you know, CT2 or whatever. So more than likely, the easiest way to do this is going to be to add a icon at the end. So if we add like 5, we change this to say slash. This is getting added to the horizontal layout for the command group. So we don't want to do that, I don't think. If we make this like 8, it's getting auto updated here to a preferred width, so we can say that's 8. But even this white line here, this box edge, is the screen, so we don't want to go that much further. I mean, we could reduce this down to 48 and then make this part 16. Feels like there's some amount of... Oh, there's spacing in between of 5. So that doesn't quite work. This would need to be 11 then to be the original size. Again, can't be changed here, has to be changed here. Okay, so that ends up with it being the same size, but doesn't give us a ton of room. Can we have it at least say CT? No, not with this spacing. So we'd have to make this smaller, which I don't really want to make this text much smaller. What we could do is we could build out an icon to put here and then put the text under that icon. Sure. So if we were to just use this one, for example, put this in here, put this into here, set this to be not quite. Still too large. Something like this could work. Obviously, we'd want to change the background icon. This thing is 16 by 16. We could probably go down to canvas size 12 by 12. Let's do it here first. This is not perfect, but that's fine. I could probably clean it up a little bit, though. Think that's symmetrical for sure. What was the original kind of look of this thing? Okay. Sure, let's go with that. Okay, so let's save that out. I think this is the wrong folder for it, but we're just going to put it here. CT background. So then we'll select this thing, if it'll let me. And then this is now 12 by 12. And then I don't think this needs to be so far to one side. Can we go back here and make this a right side 0? Yeah, maybe something like that. I don't know. Maybe it should be inside. I lost the original sizing. If we turn this off... Yeah, we can't quite tell anymore because we've changed this part. So if we change this back to 64 and then toggle this off, that's where it was originally sitting. That was the edge of the box. So if we turn this back on and then change this to 48, that's close. It was like 1 pixel too far, maybe? So I think that is close to where we want it. The math on it has worked out. I think it could be a bit smaller. Let's try shaving it down a little bit. So we'll do this, shave this part, shave this part, try rounding it a little bit more. That looks awful. I don't hate that. Oh, we're gonna have to make an inverse version of this for some of the other variations. So this will be 48 here. And this needs a new change of 1. Did I mess something up? This would be copy and pasted, so that would be fine. This command has a preferred size of 48 now. This one has a preferred size of 48. This has a right align of 1, and this has a right align of 1? No, I think that is correct. Okay. So then we do the same thing over here. And then we need to inverse this image. Can I just do a simple that? When I copy and pasted it, did it add some extra scale? It did. Okay, we want to zero that out. And then set this to be 48. Set this to be -1. And then this part, why is this misaligned so much when we inverse it like this? Oh, I see the problem. This stays -10. This becomes 1. 1 and 48. Okay. So now we have these little boxes that we can put the CT value in. So we can change this. I should have done this before copying it. CT background, and this becomes CT. And we're going to go through and do that for each of these. And then we should just be able to hook it up to be able to look at the ability in the same way that we're checking the ability's name. We should be able to create something that checks the CT of that ability. So where do we have that information? Here, and command text. So this is ability information component. Let's take a look at the ability information. What is this? This is something that contains the ability and unit, as well as some other stuff that we're not really using anymore, like the item and stuff. But that's fine. We mostly just want the ability part of it. So if we come in here and we copy the name for reference, and we're going to grab the ability information CT, or we're going to rename this to ability information CT component. And then this is going to get opened, rename here. Instead of getting ability display information get name, we should be able to just do get CT directly here. And then we'll just need to string that integer value. And that should be it, honestly. We can just then go add this to each of the command sections and drag in the text, and it'll just show up. So we're going to select all of them, add component, ability, info, CT component, and then individually we'll have to go in and drag in the text for each one. The alignment and UI layout took more time than the actual setup of anything else. How do we handle when there is no ability? We just set it to empty. We're gonna have this thing perform double duty, which I normally don't love doing for my components. But I think this will be fine. We're gonna grab the parent object and we will set it to not active here. And in this object, we will set active true. I guess realistically, the correct way to do this, we should do an if not active self, then set active, and then the inverse here. And this is all going to need brackets now because it's not a single line of code. Make sure to replace that not. Okay, so if it's active, turn it off. If it's not active, turn it on in the appropriate situations. And then we can just drag the background in to each of these, and then this will disable both the text and the image if there is not an ability in that command. Unless I wrote some bad code? No? I added it to the name instead of the CT. Please auto format. Thank you. Cool. Now we drag those in. So this goes here. This one gets this one. This one gets this one. And this one gets this one. Saving to remove this extra field. Make sure it's working correctly. Perfect. Cool. So then if we go back to our combat battlegrounds, we can save this if we want. Ideally, this should work. I didn't check to see whether or not outside of the prefab it was looking correct, but this should be a quick check. Bash is missing a number. Oh, the 8 is all the way over here. How did that happen? The code, a part of it at least, is working. It's showing up correctly. Wild. These are set up correctly. Was it just an issue with that? Let's go back into here. Oh, I can actually see it's broken here. Oh yeah, this totally had a random transform to it. Weird. All right. I mean, the color could be maybe set to be a darker font to pop more on that particular background. Those shades don't end up working as well. But that is now at least telling me what the CT cost of each of these abilities is. So I don't have to guess or try and remember. Interesting. Okay, well... we're at the 2-hour mark. I'm going to spend some time over dinner thinking about this, and when we come back, we might just try and build some functionality. Like, one thing I'd like to do is to be able to control when the AI... like, if you stun an AI by defending, for example, like, or if you parry them more accurately with an attack, I think I'd like to be able to know that and maybe have them change behavior after being parried. So if there is some sort of simple loop that we set up without all this movement stuff we're playing around with, if we go back to just stationarily hitting each other back and forth, then I want to make sure that there is no weirdness with the AI getting into like essentially infinite loops where like you hit them twice, parry, and then they do the same attack that allows you to hit them twice and then parry. So I think I'd want to have the ability to say, after being parried, choose this other ability that will change up the timing so that you can't just keep it in a kind of stun lock state. So like there's some functionality stuff with the behavior I'd still like to do, even if I'm not quite sure on this setup. But again, maybe I'll have an epiphany over dinner, or I won't, and we'll come back and we'll just focus on building some code stuff. But I really didn't anticipate struggling so much with like just the setup of this, but sometimes that's the way it goes. For now though, I should do the proper spiel. We'll be back in about 2 hours. Every Sunday we stream from 2 to 4 PST, Pacific Standard Time. And then we take a break for dinner, and then we come back and stream again from 6 till 8. For now, though, this will be Tolhi